Hey, University Church. I know, like everyone, I'm excited about the world starting to kind of get back to normal-ish, and the ability for us to start really partnering with our missionaries on a more personal basis in the near future. But it seems like every time we try to plan a trip, something comes up that just derails that. But what I want to do in the meantime is to have some conversations with some of our mission partners, our missionaries right now who are at work all around the world, so that you're aware of what's going on in their ministries, how you can pray for them, and what God's doing through them. And so here's the first conversation with Nick Stuart. Nick and Katie are with Manna International, and so they partner with churches to connect them to the mission field. You'll hear more about that in this video. And so here you go. This is my conversation with Nick. Record if you don't mind then.
Gotcha. Yep. Perfect.
Cool. Well, awesome. So where are you right now? Are you in Texas or are you?
I am at my home right now in Texas, spending some time, taking the time today to be with my family. I actually head to Guatemala tomorrow.
Oh gosh, well, I didn't mean to disrupt your family day then.
No, you're good. This is just a call. No, this is great.
All right. Well, good deal then. So now, are you close to Dallas or where are you in Texas?
So I'm right above, like 20 minutes, just in Plano.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it's our home base for now, because our office is right in Fort Worth too. So it kind of is pretty convenient.
Okay. Well, give me like an update on family. What's going on with you and Katie and
well,
expansion?
Got the baby. So
when was the baby born?
He's awesome.
I should know that because I remember like when the sonogram came out, but I didn't know like he was actually born yet.
He is like 10 months old now.
Oh my gosh, it was 20. I'm gonna blame COVID then.
It's COVID. I'm telling you, it's like you don't see people for a while, then it's like, oh yeah, it's been like 2.5 years or something like crazy. Yeah, I mean, we head to Guatemala. It's my first time heading down there since COVID, because we were supposed to be, we were down there all the time before then, and now things are not really opening up yet. They're still really, really behind just because of, I guess, a lot of it's because of the healthcare system down there. I mean, it's a lot more scary for them than it is here. So I'm heading down there. But, I think things are picking up. Like, we got to speak at a church here in Texas this past Sunday, just got back from Mississippi the following week at another church. So it seems like things are getting back to what it used to be.
So your primary role then, still, make sure I get this correct, is to help partner churches with Manna missions efforts.
Yeah, that's like,
that's your main
half of it. Yeah, so it's either connecting churches in the U.S. to the projects down there, and then making sure the projects, if we're launching a new project or something, we oversee that as well in our areas.
Okay. When you say new projects, like in new foreign mission locations?
Yeah.
Or
so me and Katie kind of focus on, like, we're Central America, but we kind of do a lot in Cuba, Honduras, and Guatemala are kind of our 3 areas, just because there's a lot happening there right now. So we kind of need more people to focus on those. So like when we had, Cuba was like church plant, we kind of oversee that a little bit. Guatemala has been kind of like additions to the church plants. Like we're getting ready to launch like a medical clinic on top of our church, because that's obviously a big need right now. So we're like, all right, let's try to figure that out. So that's kind of the other half of what we do, kind of overseeing our projects and making sure next steps, new projects, stuff like that.
So I guess because my introduction to Manna was just knowing that there are feeding centers. Like that's the extent of what like I understood Manna to do, and obviously the humanitarian things that go along with that. But you're saying that like you're actually engaged in like the missions, like the church planting aspect of it as well.
Yeah. So I love the humanitarian side, but me and Katie, we come from being super involved in our local church, and there's a way more important side to the let's get them connected to church and that spiritual aspect. The physical side's great. I love seeing that, but that's not where the heart is of it. So yeah, everything we do, if we launch a new project, it won't ever be like, all right, well, we're just going to launch this feeding center and that's it. It'll be connected with either a local church we partner with. Like if it's, hey, we know this local pastor that's doing a great job, let's partner with them. Or if it's like a VVFI missionary or some missionary to, that says, hey, we want to launch a church. All right, we'll help you do that. Or we'll just launch a church outright, like the ones in Guatemala, because it's more established. A lot of our pastors, we have local pastors there that kind of, some came like through the system, which is kind of cool. Like they kind of like came through the orphanage or the feeding centers or something. And then we're like, hey, do you want to do this? Train them up. He went to school. They like come to school here in the US and then launch them out to like plant a church, which is, I mean, like what you strive for.
So sometimes you're supporting like VVFI missionaries that are existing or existing works you're connected to, and sometimes you're trying to help launch those as well then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of times, I mean, it's always just because there are so many VVFI missionaries that are, you know, planning churches, then they know Manna just because it's so tightly connected that it's such a good way for like a new church plant in a new area and someone that's, you know, coming from the US or somewhere to, you know, like we're trying to launch one in South Africa or somewhere in Kenya, right? It's, how do you get like the respect of the people in that community? And a big portion of that is like man, you set up a feeding center and you love on these kids and that connects you to the parents. And that's where you kind of, okay, now this missionary is, it just really helps with church plants. And we see that. And that's what's truly important, you know?
Yeah, that sounds good. So with, you said like things are opening up from COVID, like obviously last year's been a challenge like none other.
Yeah.
How has that shaped not just what you do, but like what Manna is doing in the last year? Like how has Manna had to adapt? And I mean, could they do feeding centers like when, I mean, lockdowns shut that down for some places, correct?
Yeah, you have to really, I mean, so every community, it's just like up here, you know, how like the Northeast was really restricted and down in Texas, we're not, it's kind of like that everywhere, but it's kind of, you get creative. A lot of the centers like Guatemala is still very behind the kind of global scale, I guess, with all this. They still have a strong curfew. They still have restrictions on everywhere you go. If you're outside or even in your home, you have to wear a mask. It's very restricted. They are allowed to like have church in person, but when they did, like when all these restrictions were even tighter, they couldn't. So right now they're being creative in the sense of the feeding centers look more like a drive-through fast food line. So they come, they'll, you know, collect their food and they'll head out, and then church, if they're not able to meet in person, looks more like home churches. So the pastors working and the ministry leaders, twice as hard because they're visiting dozens and dozens of families and doing group homes, and everyone's coming together to meet at a home or something within the restrictions. So he's kind of having church throughout, you know. So it's kind of like, because they don't have you know, it's not like we can do online church over there. You can, but it's just not, you know, you might reach, you know, a fifth of the people maybe. So it's really, you kind of had to go back to the roots of ministry where it's, you know, home church, let's go meet people, let's evangelize, let's go to door to door and stuff like that. So, which is pretty neat, but it's a lot of work.
Okay, cool. So what about right now in Cuba? Like you have obviously a lot of connections there right now. What are you hearing about the ministries and what they're experiencing with all this chaos?
So Cuba is being, so, you know, it's brutal. You know, we were able to get in Cuba pretty, not easily, but easier than in decades past. Like it was actually really starting to opening up. We were actually bringing teams there for the first time, not just doing like survey trips with like 10 people. We were able to bring teams down there and do some really cool work. And now with COVID, it really kind of shut the borders a little bit, which is massive bummer, because when you see the work there, like we took, I think 12 pastors there the last time. And like we partner with this incredible seminary that's been there for a long, long time. And they have like pictures of all the presidents of before, and they talk about like how and the current president there, who's experienced true persecution, like, you know, like real, like, I don't know, just a lot. They've been through a lot, and they go through the pastors. Man, this guy was tortured and killed, and this guy was, you know, his family got, like, it's just, they go through like these 15 presidents, and it becomes so real hearing it from this guy that's experiencing it now. But like the fact that there's, you know, 100+ people in the seminary, and we're partnering with them to, like, our big thing is we're partnering with them, and once this pastor is ready, we help them launch a church. And I love that. So that's like Cuba's like big church planting thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for us to get down there right now, but they're able to continue to work there. Like it's still going, which is great because it is a seminary. You can do online and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the work there is still doing great. It's just personally, we can't get down there. It's very tricky. I think we've scheduled 2 or 3 trips right now to try to make it happen. And they both got pushed back. I think, especially now, I think this COVID kind of caused a lot of, what's the word? Just, I don't know, everyone kind of handled, I don't know, they changed things up a lot. So a lot of nonprofits, we've partnered with a lot of nonprofits just because they were closing and doing all this stuff. And even churches, you hear them closing doors and stuff because people get scared and, giving's really tight. But it's crazy that even though it's like a scary time, it's probably like the most needed time. So because of that, a lot of our centers are underfunded and all this stuff. So it's kind of like we're trying to keep it going through these months, but it's these months that are needed more than even the past ones when they were fully supported and we were able to do more projects. But it's kind of this season right now where the church, the feeding centers, the medical clinics have never been at a higher need.
Encourage you. So anything we can pray for in particular right now for your family in particular?
I think just this trip, it's our first trip, especially with the baby. I think that'd be the biggest thing. I'm leaving Katie for 8 days or so. And this trip is very tough. I'll just say it's tough working around these restrictions, working around everything and travel. And it's definitely prayer worthy. I definitely need that. That's the big thing for sure.
Nick and Katie are easy people to love, and I'm so glad that we get to partner with them. So thanks for supporting them faithfully with your giving. Again, we use the keyword missions with our text to give to the missions program. We also have a keyword for Manna International as well for some of those feeding centers. That's just Manna. So if you want to be a part of that, just text to give with either one of those keywords. And thank you so much for being a part of missions here at UC. I can't wait to go see some of the things that they're doing, to be a part of them. But God has a role for each of us. So make sure you pray for Nick this week as he's traveling to Guatemala, and continue to give faithfully as well. Have a great day.